I spent 25 years believing men were dangerous. That belief shaped every decision I made, every relationship I sabotaged, every opportunity for connection I destroyed before it could begin. My name is Nicole, and 6 months ago, I got assigned a male roommate in graduate housing. I was terrified. I filed complaints, I locked my door with a chair, I treated him like a potential threat from day one. He responded by fixing my squeaky door hinge, folding my laundry, and driving me 2.5 hours to see my mom in the hospital at midnight. This is the story of how one quiet, decent man dismantled everything I thought I knew about his entire gender. This is the story of how I learned that sometimes, the most dangerous thing isn't the person in front of you, it's the lens you're viewing them through. And this is my confession about what I lost when I finally got what I thought I wanted. I'm 25, second year in a sociology graduate program, and I'd been taught my entire life that men were the enemy. Not explicitly, not with those exact words, but the message was clear from the moment my dad walked out when I was 5. My mom raised me alone, and every story she told became a cautionary tale. Every fight she and my dad had before the divorce was framed as proof: men lie, men cheat, men run. Her mantra echoed through my childhood like a religious chant: never depend on a man. They'll let you down every time. I absorbed it like gospel. And then my own experiences seemed to confirm every word. My first boyfriend in college cheated on me with some random girl from his dorm. I only found out because her underwear got mixed up with my laundry one weekend. The betrayal was crushing, but worse was the validation. See? Mom was right. The second one was the stereotypical nice guy who blew up at me after 2 months because I wasn't sleeping with him fast enough. His mask slipped, and underneath was rage and entitlement. Another data point confirming the pattern. The third one ghosted me after 3 months. No explanation, no closure, just silence. He became a phantom, proof that men were predators or selfish manipulators wearing different costumes. By the time I got to graduate school, the pattern was so clear it was basically a scientific law in my mind. Men were dangerous. Full stop. Some were obviously dangerous, others just hadn't revealed it yet. But they were all a threat, and the only way to stay safe was to keep my guard up at all times. So when I opened that housing assignment email and saw I'd been placed with a male roommate, my heart didn't just sink, it plummeted into full panic mode. I called housing immediately, my hands shaking as I held the phone. There had to be a mistake. This couldn't be real. I understand your concern, the administrator said in that practiced, detached voice that meant she'd heard it all before. But we have a housing shortage this year. Too many graduate students, not enough units. Gender separation rules don't apply to graduate housing when we're over capacity. I begged. I actually begged. I told her I'd pay extra, that I'd take a smaller room, that I'd commute from off-campus if necessary. Anything but this. There's nothing I can do, she said. You can waitlist for a transfer, but that could take months. Maybe the whole semester. I hung up feeling trapped. Months. I'd have to survive months living with a strange man, sharing a kitchen, a bathroom, breathing the same air. The thought made my skin crawl. I told myself it would only be temporary. A month or 2 maximum. I just had to survive it. Keep my door locked, keep my guard up, avoid him at all costs. Treat him like the potential threat he was, because that's what all men were until proven otherwise. And even then, I reminded myself, even the ones who seemed safe were just better at hiding it. Ted Bundy was charming. Jeffrey Dahmer was quiet. The dangerous ones were always the ones you didn't suspect. I spent the week before move-in researching door locks, pepper spray, and self-defense techniques. I made emergency contact lists. I memorized the campus security number. I prepared for war. What I got instead was Ethan. The first time I met him, I was already in full defensive mode. I'd moved in early, claimed the bigger bedroom, and was setting up my battle stations, locks, labeled groceries, territorial markers everywhere. He knocked on the door around 3 in the afternoon. I opened it with my phone in hand, finger hovering over the emergency call button. "Hey," he said in this calm, low voice. "I'm Ethan." He was average height, average build, wearing a faded university t-shirt and jeans. His handshake was brief, his eye contact minimal. He introduced himself with straightforward efficiency, no forced friendliness, no lingering looks, no attempts at charm. In my head, alarm bells were screaming. The quiet ones are the most dangerous. The ones who don't try too hard are the ones plotting something. I'd read enough horror stories, watched enough true crime. I knew the warning signs. I immediately set boundaries. I claimed the bigger cupboard in the kitchen and labeled every single grocery item with post-its, "Not yours." I taped a note on the bathroom mirror, "Please respect shared spaces." I wanted him to know I wasn't one of those clueless girls who let men walk all over them. He didn't comment. He just glanced at the note once while brushing his teeth, shrugged, and kept going. That was unsettling. Was it indifference or calculation? Was he making mental notes for later, figuring out how to work around my defenses? That first night, I was paranoid as hell. I double-locked my door, shoved a chair under the handle, and sat in bed listening to every sound. Every creak in the hallway made my chest tighten. My brain spun worst-case scenarios on an endless loop. What if he tried to break in? What if he drugged my food? What if he was just waiting for me to let my guard down? But morning came. My door was untouched. When I peeked out, Ethan was already gone for class. The kitchen was spotless. His shoes were lined up neatly by the door. The trash had been taken out. Weird. I told myself it was all an act. That's what predators did, they played nice until they saw an opening. A few days later, I had my first confirmation that I was right to be suspicious. I heard metallic rattling right outside my door late one night. My chest started pounding. This was it. He was trying to break in. I grabbed my lamp, ready to swing, thinking, this is it. This is the moment everyone warned me about. I yanked the door open, ready to scream and fight, and saw Ethan crouched down with a screwdriver. "What the hell are you doing?" I snapped, lamp raised like a weapon. He looked up, genuinely startled. "Oh. The hinge on your door squeaks." I was just tightening it. I froze, lamp in hand, face burning with embarrassment and adrenaline. He was literally fixing my door. Making it work better. Helping me. But I couldn't admit I'd overreacted. I couldn't let him see that I'd misjudged the situation. So I pivoted. "Don't sneak around my door like that," I said, trying to sound firm instead of foolish. "Yeah, sorry. Didn't mean to freak you out," he said simply. Then he stood up and walked away. No snark, no smirk, no lecture about my paranoia. Just fixed the problem and moved on. That was almost worse than if he'd made some comment, because in my head, men were supposed to fight back, push boundaries, test limits, make you defend yourself. Instead, he just respected mine without question. By the end of the first week, my brain was completely tangled. I thought I'd be dodging dirty laundry piles, wiping up after his messes, swatting away creepy remarks. Instead, Ethan was basically invisible. He went to class, came home, cooked quietly, cleaned up, and disappeared into his room. And that annoyed me more than anything, because if he wasn't doing the stereotypical guy stuff I expected, where was my proof? Where was the evidence that justified treating him like a threat? I kept telling myself it was only a matter of time. The mask always slips eventually. It had to. By the start of the second week, I had a mental list of things Ethan had done wrong. Except when I actually examined it, none of them were really wrong. They were just neutral. Normal. And that scared me more than anything. One afternoon, I came home from campus and heard the dryer running. I opened it and saw his clothes still inside, jeans, t-shirts, some gym stuff. My first thought, automatically, he expects me to move it for him. Classic male entitlement. I rolled my eyes, muttering to myself about how typical this was, and went back to my room feeling vindicated. See? They're all the same. But the next day, when I forgot my own laundry in the dryer for almost 2 hours, I came out to find it folded neatly in a basket outside my door. Every item carefully folded. Not dumped in a pile, not left wrinkled, actually folded with care. I just stood there staring at it. He didn't say a word about it. No note, no passive-aggressive comment, no "you're welcome" waiting to be acknowledged. Just did it and went on with his day. It made me irrationally angry because I couldn't figure out his angle. Was he trying to score nice guy points? Was it passive-aggressive? Who does something like that with no commentary, no expectation of recognition? Later that week, we ended up in the kitchen at the same time for the first time. I was making pasta. He was chopping vegetables. The silence was thick and awkward, every clink of knife against cutting board amplified. Then he asked, "Hey, what time do you usually cook? I can try to work around it so we're not tripping over each other." I froze. In my head, that question sounded controlling, like he was trying to schedule me, manage my movements, establish dominance. I gave him a tight smile. "You don't have to work around me. I can handle sharing a kitchen." He blinked, confused. "Okay. I just didn't want to bother you." Then he turned back to his cutting board like nothing happened. No defensiveness, no snark, no wounded male ego demanding validation. Just genuine neutrality. And somehow that irritated me even more than if he'd argued. The next day, he left a note on the fridge, "Out of eggs. I'll grab some later. Let me know if you need anything." I stared at it for a full minute, trying to decode the hidden meaning. Was this a subtle way of reminding me to contribute? Was he trying to establish himself as the provider? Or was he just being decent? I couldn't tell anymore. My framework for understanding men wasn't working. 3 weeks in, something happened that would completely destabilize everything I thought I understood about gender, safety, and who shows up when it matters. It was a Thursday night. I was at the kitchen table, hunched over my laptop editing citations for a paper that was due Monday. My phone buzzed. Aunt Rachel. She never called. I answered immediately. Her voice was shaky, wrong. "Sweetheart, your mom's been in an accident." The world stopped. My stomach dropped so fast I thought I might throw up. "She's okay, stable, but they're taking her to county hospital. Might need surgery. They said if you can get there tonight, you should." My mom had been having weird spells for weeks, dizziness, fatigue. She kept brushing it off, saying she was just tired. Now this. I started shaking. I grabbed my bag, my keys, my phone, and started calling everyone. Maya, voicemail. Aaron, nothing. Jess, straight to missed call. These were my best friends. The women who'd told me 100 times, "Call me anytime. I'll always pick up." I'd believed them. When I needed them most, they were gone. I got to the third unanswered call and started crying. Not quiet tears, the kind that choke in your throat, the kind that don't feel real. That's when Ethan's door opened. He stepped out, earbuds around his neck, brows drawn in concern. "Hey, what happened?" I tried to wipe my face, but I was shaking too hard. "My mom. Car accident. She's in the hospital. County. They said she might need surgery. I don't know how to get there." He looked at his phone, then back at me. "That's like 2.5 hours. I nodded, panicked. "Yeah. I'm trying to find a bus or something." "I'll drive you," he said, already grabbing his jacket. "What? No, you don't have to." "I know. Come on, let's go." He didn't wait for debate. He didn't ask questions or need explanations. He just moved. We were on the road in under 10 minutes. The dashboard lit up dim blue, the wipers working against a fine drizzle. I sat stiffly, hands clenched in my lap, my entire world spinning. About 20 minutes in, I broke the silence. Why are you being so nice? He didn't take his eyes off the road. What do you mean? I mean, what's your deal? What's the angle here? He glanced over briefly, then back. No angle. You needed help. That's not how people usually work. He gave a small laugh, but it wasn't sarcastic or cruel. Maybe not the people you're used to. I hesitated, my entire worldview cracking. Seriously, though. Why? Why just drop everything and drive me across the state? He let that hang in the air for a moment before replying. You live in my space. We're not strangers. If something bad happened to you and I did nothing, I'd feel like garbage. That's it. No secret plan, no payoff. Just basic human decency. I didn't know what to say. The way he said it, not defensive, not dramatic, not looking for praise, it landed harder than any argument ever could. At the hospital, everything felt too bright and sterile. My mom was groggy but alert. Broken arm, mild concussion, stitches. When she saw me, her eyes welled up. You came? She whispered. Of course I came, I said, holding her hand tight. She looked past me, noticing Ethan lingering by the door, giving us space. Is that the young man who drove you? I nodded. She blinked, surprised. That was very kind of him. That's rare. Then to Ethan, thank you, sweetheart. You didn't have to do that. He gave a small nod. Glad she got here safe. After that, he quietly handled everything. Parking validation, vending machine runs for terrible coffee, tracking down forms I didn't know I needed. He never hovered, never made it about him. He just stayed nearby like this calm backup generator that kept everything running while I was short-circuiting. Around 2 in the morning, when my mom finally fell asleep, I sat in the waiting area completely drained. He was there too, stretched out in a chair with his jacket folded under his head. My phone buzzed. Maya, OMG, I'm so sorry, I just saw your call, are you okay? Aaron, hey, missed your call earlier, everything all right? I stared at the screen. They'd said always. But when I actually needed them, they weren't there. Ethan, the guy I'd labeled a threat, the one I'd treated like a potential predator for weeks, was the one who dropped everything. No delay, no excuses, no questions asked. I still can't believe you did all this, I said quietly. I still can't believe you're surprised, he said back. I looked over at him, not afraid, not suspicious, just quiet and grateful. No one had ever shown up for me like that. Especially not a man. Chapter 7, The End I Thought I Wanted, 1930 to 2200 hours. Narrator, a week after the hospital trip, life slipped back into something that almost felt normal. My mom was recovering fine. Ethan was back to his quiet routines. The apartment felt steady, safe even. Then the email came. Subject, rooming adjustment. Per your previous request for a female roommate, we've arranged for your current roommate to be reassigned to Block C next week. I just stared at it, my stomach dropping. I'd completely forgotten about that complaint, the one I'd filed the first week, back when I still slept with a chair wedged under my doorknob, back when I saw him as the enemy. When I looked up, Ethan was standing in the doorway, phone in hand. They just told me about the move, he said. His voice was neutral, not hurt, but it still made my stomach twist. Guess it's because you weren't comfortable. I opened my mouth, closed it again. I'm sorry if I made it weird. No, you didn't. It's fine. He gave me a small smile. Maybe it's better this way. Safer for both of us. He gave a small nod. Yeah. Probably. Then he smiled, polite, easy, kind, and went back to his room to start packing. For the next few days, he packed little by little. Boxes stacked by the door, the sound of tape ripping through the silence. I kept pretending it was nothing, that this was what I wanted. When he cooked, I waited until he was done. When he was in the living room, I stayed in my room. It felt like rewinding to the first week, except this time the silence hurt in a way I couldn't name. The morning he left, I found him tightening the strap on one of his boxes. "Need help?" I asked. He shook his head. "Got it. Elevator's open if you want to hold the door." I did. We rode down together in silence, and I realized I was memorizing everything, the way he stood, the quiet way he breathed, the calm that radiated from him even in awkward moments. At the curb, he turned. "Take care, okay?" "Yeah," I said, forcing a small laugh. "Guess it'll be nice not tripping over each other." "Guess so." He smiled again, the same quiet one from day one, then lifted the box and walked away. The apartment felt wrong the moment the door shut. Too big. Too still. Too empty. His shoes weren't by the door anymore. His mug wasn't on the counter. I stood in the bathroom and saw the note I'd taped up weeks ago: "Please respect shared spaces." For some reason, it looked childish now, petty and small. I peeled it off, crumpled it, and tossed it in the trash. Back in the kitchen, I opened my phone and typed, "Thanks again for everything." A few minutes later, the screen lit up. "Ethan, anytime. Good luck this semester." That was it. Simple. Final. I set the phone down and told myself it didn't matter. He'd just been a roommate, and housing had finally done what I'd asked for from the beginning. It was supposed to feel like relief, like safety, like victory. But the place was too quiet. His side of the counter looked wrong, the shelf too bare. Everything felt hollow. I told myself it was fine, that it was safer this way. At least that's what I kept trying to believe. But late that night, sitting alone in that too quiet apartment, I realized something that broke me. I'd finally gotten exactly what I thought I wanted. And it felt like the biggest mistake I'd ever made. I'd spent my whole life being taught that men were dangerous. And when I finally met one who wasn't, who was just quietly, consistently decent, I pushed him away because I couldn't let go of the story I'd been told. The real danger wasn't Ethan. It was the lens I'd been viewing him through. The assumptions I'd made before he even had a chance. The walls I'd built that kept out not just threats, but connection, kindness, and maybe something that could have been friendship. I'd been so busy protecting myself from what men might do that I never stopped to see what this man actually did: show up, respect boundaries, fold laundry, fix hinges, drive through the night, and ask for nothing in return. Now he was gone. And I was safe. And I was alone. And I was starting to wonder if maybe, just maybe, I'd had it backwards all along. Have you ever pushed away something good because you were too afraid to believe it was real? Let me know in the comments. And if this story meant something to you, please subscribe, because sometimes the hardest stories to tell are the ones we need to hear most.